How'd you get a builder shirt? And I don't even have builder shirts.
The day that I stood in the back of the little bar area when General High Rocks was going on, I was handing out T-shirts left and right. I snagged one.
It's ridiculous. I own the company, and every single time I go to an event, people are like, "Do you have any larges left?" And I recognize that we don't, and I just give them mine,
There's a
and then
lot largest one.
I end up without one. I'm sure, Rich, that's why you end up with not having so many shirts as well. You're always giving out the shirt right off your back.
You know what? I don't. You know what? I just, it's all about me. I'm not, you come to my place, you want a shirt, you're not going to get one.
I respect that. I respect that. There's a certain point in your life where you just got to draw a line in the sand. And for you, you're not giving your shirt up anymore.
You know what it is that it's like you get this inventory, right? Mm-hmm. And I'll be honest with you, I do have shirts. But if you start introducing the idea that you have shirts, they want you to send them to them. They want me to mail it. And I just don't do well with UPS. So it's like trying to send something to somebody, forget it's not worth it to me.
Yeah.
You come visit me and you ask for one, you're probably going to get one.
Yeah. We're at the point where we are buying so much merchandise, like water bottles. We just bought patches for weight vests because we're doing the Murph record, all that kind of stuff. And we've done our very best to like have swag for people, and people love it. But then all of a sudden, it's just like it becomes an inconsistent burden. And we're even discussing about like getting a warehouse out here and hiring a full-time employee to do all of this stuff. But even that seems like a risk, I think.
It's a waste of money. That's not what you do, right?
Sure.
It's like spinning off like a whole merchandise department.
I'll tell you something. A team that I work with, they're the best in business. I won't mention them just because, I don't know, maybe they don't want to know that who they are for this conversation, but they were doing all these data analytics on me. And because we work in different partnerships for different brands. So they sent me all this stuff, and they showed how much, because of the growth of High Rocks, my name has started to go into Google searches. And currently, every single month, I'm getting thousands of Google searches directly towards my name, to the point where like I'm almost getting up as big as like High Rocks is. Do you guys, and this is why merchandise gets valuable, by the way. Like if you make biceps win races, all that kind of stuff, it becomes valuable. And that's why I'm bringing this up. But can you guys guess what the number one Google searches related to my name are?
Is Hunter McIntyre's mustache real?
Okay, Rich, what's your number one guess?
Biceps win races.
No, is Hunter McIntyre married? Is the number one question.
That does, okay. Yeah, that one popped up a lot.
Okay, second one is, who is Hunter McIntyre? Third one is Hunter McIntyre gay?
I was going to say that's probably up on the list.
That's the third most researched thing. I was just like, what the shit? It's like, what the fuck have I done with my life? That's the third search.
Yeah, well,
So that's why I got to get patches that say Hunter McIntyre is straight.
Not gay.
Not gay. The not gay guy.
No homo.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you, I won't, because this is live. But I remember a conversation you and I had about you going to Elton John's birthday party.
It's a great birthday party. And I had goals when I got there.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying that there was a conversation surrounding that you said, because he's been a knight, that you go ahead and have sex with him or something like that.
No, it was nothing to do with that. Okay, so listen, the conversation goes like this. You think about it, you're like, who are your top 5 celebrity bangs? And everybody like names like a babe, like a total babe. I'm like, yeah, great. You'd have sex for 10 minutes and it'd be the most boring night of your life. You think about Elton John, rock star. He brings me to a castle. We fly in a helicopter. We're playing hide and go seek in his castle. Then all of a sudden he decides to light a massive fire in a fireplace that's the size of your apartment probably. And then he starts playing Crocodile Rock. And the things that go after that, I can't even get into detail because this is a Christian podcast. But I'm telling you right now, you think about the night, not the act of the sex. I'm thinking about the evening. And Elton John, I guarantee
you need to back up. You need to back up while you're ahead.
He just dug that hole.
Dude,
the third search on Google, how is Hunter McIntyre gay, then goes into it.
Listen,
Google search has Hunter McIntyre had sex with Elton John.
Yeah. That's the new biggest search. It's the comedy behind it all. I even said that I would date Oprah too. I was telling people this morning that I would date Oprah. I'm like, come on. Like, think about the opportunities involved, guys. So
Can I just go ahead and hang up right now?
no, listen, you're the one who brought it up, so don't. I can defend myself here.
That's not defending yourself.
It is 100% defending myself.
Taking your picture.
I'm explaining why it would happen.
Oh,
Oh, look at this. Ellen John would also ding that hole. Now it comes out. See, look at this. Now you got the gay critics on my side. Thanks for bringing that up, Rich. And now we understand why the search engine's there. Okay, so in reality, as much as we did want to talk about me coming out of the closet, we really brought you on the show because you were right and I lost a bet, and I want to say that I'm sorry and that you were right.
You don't need to apologize.
No, listen. I talked a lot of shit. I did. But
yeah, well, that's to be expected.
Here we go. Here's the race results. Overall time, 10:27. I think you and I agreed on 10:25 if I had to go faster. And I stopped looking at my watch, and I was only looking at the watch time rather than my paces. And I just kept on being like, I have to beat 5:45 to beat Rich. That's all I thought about the second half of the race. So you got me through it, brother. I got a 1:10:29 swim. I got a 5:33 bike, and I got a 3:29:30 run time. Total time was 10:27:37.
So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Do you think it's possible that part of the reason you didn't do as well as you hoped was because it was so close to the other suffer freaking triathlon you did?
Starvation.
You weren't 100%.
Not even close. I mean, dude, we went out drinking as hard as we possibly could. Like, I woke up with peanuts all over me, and we were drinking like 30 Irish car bombs a couple nights out. Admittedly,
John sleeping in the corner.
Yeah. Admittedly, like, we did not take the traditional trajectory towards having a successful time in Ironman. Like, we ran that really hard one, and then after that, Kyle and I basically just like gave up. Like, Kyle was 20 minutes slower than his last Ironman. Like, we just were like, we're effed, and our bodies were pretty tired. We weren't really interested anymore. I basically stopped training. Like, I still was moving, but I was not training to have a good Ironman time. But I did say that I was going to do it regardless of training because I'm such a badass, and I didn't beat the time. So, what's the bottle of scotch you want again?
Lagenboot. How do you say that, Rich?
Lagavulin, I think it's.
Yeah, Lagavulin.
You know, you got off cheap. You know, you really got off cheap.
The last one was like a $500 bottle.
Yeah, being the gentleman that I am, the original bet, I started talking about a Belveni 30-year-old, which was like $1,000.
Yeah.
The I never could pronounce this properly. Lagavulin, I think it is. It's $99. You know, so.
I made a $1,000 bet with my other friend who lives in Nashville that he couldn't lose 30 pounds by his birthday, and he lost the 30 pounds. So I owe him $1,000. I owe you a bottle. I have a terrible gambling problem.
Yeah. Well, the good news is that I wasn't paying attention to it. Had you not told me that I lost or I won the bet, I wouldn't have asked. It wasn't paramount.
Well, he always pays his bets.
Yeah.
No, I get it. Well, like, so do I. It wasn't paramount in my mind. I wasn't thinking, oh, cool, I'm going to win money. You know, so
it's kind of sad that I'm just not even a thought. Not even a thought.
Dude, I wasn't. Listen, you and I have gone down this rabbit hole so many times, so I just don't give it all that much energy. I have respect for your ability, and I think that if you wouldn't have been in a prime circumstance, I probably would have lost that bet. But knowing that you wouldn't be relative to what you had planned. You see, I'm an old man. I think this stuff through. I said, he's going to go beat himself up on this mountain. Then he's going to go down to sea level and try to shine. And his body's going to be so worked, it's just not going to go well. So I bet against you.
I would say that the booze was probably the biggest
deterrent.
It was the biggest thing that got in the way. It was the biggest hurdle. So now we're going to really get into the meat and potatoes of next season. And I always like to kind of converse with you, but I think because of the platform that we have now, it's fun to kind of have these conversations publicly. We got nothing to hide. I usually contact you before I try to go set a world record in something, and I want to just find out the science on it. So we're going back and we're going to do the Murph World Record probably December or January, maybe February. I don't know, depending on the prep. I'm giving myself as long as necessary. Last time I only had 2 months. So last time we did 34 minutes and 13 seconds. I believe it was like a 5:19 run, 2:55 pull-ups, 8:17 pull-ups, 10:18 or 8-minute pull-ups, push-ups, 10:18 squats, which is terrible, and then like a 7:20 run. I really went crashed. So we're basically taking about 18% off of the time, maybe 15% off of the time I did with the last one. And basically, I have to raise the intensity in very small muscle groups like triceps and pecs, where like something like high rocks is very predominantly like just your legs and your lungs. The biggest issue for me was not even the run, but it was the push-ups. The push-ups like overloaded me so badly that it shot me in my tracks. And then by the time I got to the squats, I think I was just so overloaded in general. Like I just started dying and my quads couldn't even move. Like I had shocked the body at that point. So I was calling to ask to say if you were going to take, if you were going to take the effort that we're looking at right now and split it up because it's different than high rocks, it's, you know, half the amount of time. How could you increase the intensity of a workout like that over 6 months to the point where I'm trying to break 30 minutes?
Well, a lot of things come to mind. And as I'm listening to you, it reminded me of a conversation I had with someone in a podcast just the other day. And the conversation surrounded high rock specific training. And this is an elite athlete, elite meaning they're doing pretty well, and they compete in the pro versions. You know, I'm not going to go into the detail of who it was. And the gist of the conversation was, like so many that I hear talk about their training, is the way they're segregating processes, right? So they're doing these training blocks where like they're going to do strength for a period of time, then they're going to do the running for a period of time, and they're hoping that collectively it's all going to come together when they need it, and it's all going to gel. And I think in an effort like we're speaking of, you need to look at it as a whole. And I know that a lot of your training is this way, but you've heard me bang the drum about this before. The specificity of training is critically important, especially for this particular event. When you're training, you need to do the whole thing. Now, you can gauge the intensity and progressively increase the intensity over time, which is going to end up working. But I would not blame the small muscle groups for failing, or your quads for failing. It's a collective failure. And we talked about this too. And this is something that's really been on my mind a lot lately. And I've been sharing some of this information, is that you realize that because collectively the intensity is causing the cost of work to go up, that your heart rate is also going with it. And as your heart rate goes up, as does your core body temperature. And then this is crazy. So try to take this, let's just say this block of time, this 35-minute effort. Let's just say, and I'm just being hypothetical because I don't know how many watts it was, but let's just say collectively the cost of work was 1,000 watts, okay? And I'm sure that that's not correct. I'm sure it's way more than that. But let's just say that you generated 1,000 watts of energy. Now, because when your core temperature goes up and your heart rate goes up the way it does, what ends up happening is, this is going to kill you. 75% of the energy that you generated is going to go to mitigating the heat production in your body. And what's left for your work is that last 25%. So the enemy in all of this, and I've been saying this about high rocks training because it also exists there, is that if you can't keep a handle on that heart rate or keep a handle on that core temperature, then it's a hellbound train. Eventually, it's just going to get you like it did you. And I reflected on when you set the, well, I don't know if it's a world record, but you won the world championships this year at High Rocks. Intuitively, you identified that you were really getting hot and you started to douse yourself with water and drink and things like this. It saved your ass because I
do that every race, by the way.
Well, I'm just telling, whether it was intentional or just you programmed it or whatever. And I thought it was just intuitive. You just thought, okay, I gotta cool this thing down. But getting a handle on that core temperature helps to start to put the fire out and allow you to maintain your performance. because when you get out to a place where your core temperature gets a little out of control, you're looking at potentially losing as much as 20% of your performance towards the end. And so what I'm saying from a global perspective is that if you took the entire block and then progressively produced the work and intentionally graduated the work to greater and greater intensity over time, you'd start to find yourself more and more capable of supporting greater and greater paces in the run, and also the ability to support more and more of the work in the exercises. So my answer would be not to try to segregate the components and try to work on those specifically and then become, stronger at each of these little individual events and then ultimately put it all together at the end.
I agree with you. The thing is, that's what I did with High Rocks last year, is I just kept on doing simulations. But my thing came down to, like, when I do push-ups in training, I think just because I don't train them anymore, they blow me out hard. And like air squats I'm good with, pull-ups are not that bad. The push-ups go.
Well, again, let me just, I understand. So you're going to have weaknesses. There's the strength and there's the weakness, the strength and weakness all through the process. And this occurs with all these types of events we speak of, right? But I'm just saying that let's say you're going to say, I'm going to do a block of 100 push-ups, right? Or 50 push-ups, whatever it might be. Just instead of like hammering it every time, just slow your roll in the beginning and just take whatever time it takes to get it done. And you'll see progressively the time is going to get shorter and shorter and shorter for everything that you do. But if you just always go ham, it's going to end up in the same place. It's like beating your head against the wall. Eventually, either lactate production starts to get you in the specific regions or whatever. But collectively, you start, you just bang your head against the wall again.
What do you think about this? So I was trying to measure, because I think it's interesting to bring up the difference between myself and another athlete like Alec Blennis, who's got the other best time that I know of. Look at these metrics of energy that I try to create. It's a bro science, but I like it. So I'm 200 pounds, 74 inches tall, and 600 reps in the workout. He's 160 pounds, 66 inches, so about 5'6", and 600 reps. So the amount of units of energy that it cost me is 8,888,000, and his is 6,336,000. So he uses 29% less energy than I do. Thoughts?
Just by being the size that he is.
Yeah, it's mass.
Yeah,
It's the more mass, the more work, the more expense.
What I did was I multiplied my weight times my ape index, which is my arm's length across, and then I multiply it times the amount of reps, which is 600. You take out the running because that's just too hard to measure. I mean, I guess I could multiply it times feet, but then it would just be a grossly high number. But still, I wonder. I mean, there's nothing I can really do to get around it other than just get fitter.
Well, again, so an easier route to that, creating that equation to do a comparative, is just look at the work, and you can easily just take your heart rate, your mass, caloric expense over time, and you end up in the same place. You're probably right in that because he's not as large as you are, his expense is going to be less. And the things that you can control are obviously lowering the cost of work relative to the output. Be better at not expending as much energy to achieve whatever particular task. And so, or the other end of it is be much better at processing that lactate that you're creating, because you're going to be anaerobic. I mean, there's just no doubt about it. You're going to be anaerobic the whole time. And so if you can do something to get better at processing that lactate so you don't burn up, you may overwhelm the smaller guy because he's not capable of doing that.
Does a bigger body process lactate better?
It creates more.
Well,
and so denser muscle processes lactate better.
Really?
Yeah. So fast twitch fibers have a very unique metabolic transporter that will help to clear that lactate as you're producing it faster than if you're more of a slow twitch kind of guy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, this is such a long workout, though. It's predominantly oxidative, if not entirely. I mean, you're.
Why would you say that?
Well, I guess it's all the way up there, but like, I mean, it's pulling from your glycolytic system for the entirety of it because your heart rate's so high. But
Well, but it's not oxidative then. So
no, I
oxidative
know.
suggests
I was meant to say that
it's glycolytic.
yeah, it's glycolytic, but still, like, I would go into this. I know you don't like when I say this, but I would still be doing like 10 hours of bike volume a week just to get my
What kind of volume?
bike volume
10 hours.
at least. And ski erg, I thought about doing a lot of ski erg and rowing just to continually to work these muscle groups, because like running doesn't attack the muscle groups the same way biking does. That same kind of muscular tension that you'd respond to from doing high intensity squat volume.
Well, there's less stress for one.
Yeah, well, that also injury proofing, and the impact in general. And then I thought about just doing a ton of ski erg volume, because what we're looking at is lats and triceps and core, which is going to be crazy. I thought about doing a lot more core work and not as much heavy weight. I usually lift such heavy weights all the time. I was just like, I don't think I really need to do it this go around. Like, I can't get much stronger.
No, it's look at everything you're doing is body weight oriented. If you had to pick up weight, then you pick up weight. You need to stick to the. You were a big follower of I think it was Vern Gambetta, right?
No, Charles Poliquin.
Or Charles Poliquin. Okay, either way, these guys are kind of coming from the same song sheet, basically. But basically, these guys were really keen on specificity.
Yep.
Do the thing that you need to do in order to be better at the thing you're trying to do.
Yep.
And when you kind of get lost in it and you're trying to supplement the work with all these versions of process, I think honestly, a lot of it's a waste of time. I mean, I don't think that, for example, let's say skier, there's nothing in the movement patterns you're going to do that are going to mimic that skier or vice versa.
Do you remember
same thing with the bike for that matter.
Do you remember when was Arthur Lydiard what used to worked with that boxing world champion, and he used to make him just do like very low intensity boxing all the time, very, very low intensity to work on his capillary density so that he could keep stamina in his arms. That's my idea of it. It's not the same muscle pattern. I mean, I guess I could just take bands and go like this for like 60 minutes.
Can I tell you something? I've worked with world champion boxers, middleweight champion of the world, lightweight champion of the world. And I've been in that world with boxers in the past. Old school training for boxers. You see these guys out on the road, you got the hoodie on and their plastic clothes, running along, trying to do a 10-minute mile, then go in and hit the heavy bag for an hour or something like that. I had a guy come to me, a manager of a middleweight boxer that was actually in De La Hoya's camp, and said, we need to do something because my guy's getting older, and he just, in order for him to kind of get to the big game, he's got to start winning, la 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 la. And they started selling me on all the endurance and how hard the guy trained. And I'm like, let me ask you something. So the guy runs 10 miles a day or something like that. I said, when you get in the ring, it's 3-minute rounds. You're going to fight for 3 minutes, sit for a minute or two, and get back up and fight again. Why in the hell would you want to go steady state for 10 miles or whatever, hour and a half or whatever it is? Has nothing to do with the task you have. So we quit this guy from running like that. And we started focusing on intervals style workouts that are very much akin to the type of
like HIIT training.
Yeah. And you know what? The guy started knocking people out left and right. Oscar De La Hoya kicked him out of his camp because he was hurting his trainers, and a guy was like working on 38 years old. That was the problem, is that he's getting old. We got to do something. And I've done this, we did this, we had the guy named Chris John. Anybody that's a boxing aficionado will know this guy. He's from Jakarta, Indonesia, came to me from Jakarta, Indonesia, and he was training in Oxnard with the Garcias, some of the greatest boxing trainers in the world. And their camp started putting this guy in a hyperbaric chamber 3 times a week. And the idea being that getting in this saturated oxygen environment was going to improve his aerobic performance, blah, 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 blah. It almost killed him.
Wow.
They came to me, and the guy was like he was in the ring like a girl. I could show you pictures of me in that training facility, monitoring his heart rate while he was training. And the guy hit like a girl. And we summarily.
Hey, now, Rich, some girls hit harder than men now.
Anyway, we pulled him out, and we stopped him from doing that. In a matter of a couple of weeks, his performance started going back up again. And all of the training we did was anaerobic. We started doing nothing but let's go hard for these rounds and then focus on specificity. We want to make sure the technique's on point. How are you going to maneuver this guy that you're going to fight? What is his weaknesses? What are the strengths that we need to build on? And the guy came around. So the moral of the story is, A, Lydiard got into the game. There was no such thing as a heart rate monitor. So for him to, he was going low and slow for everybody for 10 weeks at a time. And, a good plan today is always better than a perfect plan tomorrow. And it always turned out to be how this guy came to fame. But we have technology these days that he didn't have the advantage of. And I would tell you that based on what I know and having tested thousands of athletes from all walks of sport, I mean, I used to do all the preseason diagnosis for the LA Kings. These are power athletes. I've done boxers. I've done basketball players, baseball players, football players, rugby, you name it, I've tested it. And I'm looking at the outcome of the work they're doing and what they're trying to achieve. And when I tell you what I tell you, it's not because I'm just winging some thought processes. I put in the work. And so I assure you that you ask me a question, I'm giving you the answer. Specify, get on top of the game, and be progressive about it. Don't try to just try to get a record every time you attempt the event. Slow your roll.
10 hours on the bike, is that a good idea, or what type of?
I just don't think. Okay. Listen, I don't think that's helped you with high rocks. Just to be honest.
I mean, it's interesting. So I have my own formula for doing this that I've used the bike because. In reality, I recognize the amount of intensity that goes into my intense days. I usually do an intense run, an intense gym session. I need about 2 days of recovery until I can go again. And if I decide to run in between, it just chews me up. I've used the bike, these 2-3 hour bike sessions, and I can't touch anything else. I mean, I am literally devastated after the level of intensity that we do.
Listen, I appreciate that. And I could see where that would be a solution for you if that was your concern was to continue to work. It might have been that you improved even more had you not done the work in the middle anyway. If you put in the hard sets, took the rest, go back and put in the hard sets, take the rest, and then taper yourself in. I mean, it doesn't have to be 100% every time you go in. You could take it with less intensity, but get better at the things you're trying to get better at, and then progressively improve the intensity.
I hear where you're coming from, but I have all my own versions of data. Like you have lab data, I have field data. The amount of years that I've done without the bike versus with the bike. So, if I share the screen and I would show you my world records on Strava that when I first started doing high rocks, I was not nearly as fit. And when I went and did, you can see when I was training for the Murph record last time, I was living in Boulder, Colorado. It was COVID and people were such cocks. They would not let you come outside of the house because they were like, oh, you're spreading COVID on your bicycle, you monster. People would scream at you. It was crazy. So my volume of outdoor training actually dropped significantly, and my level of inside intensity and specificity was through the roof. Then all of a sudden, COVID starts to lift off and my opportunities start to come back, and I start putting back in bike volume, which is my traditional version of applying my formula, and my numbers started going through the roof again. I'll give you another example.
So what numbers are we talking about?
I'm talking about my results in high rocks. The only numbers that's valuable.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm just telling. So another example I'll give you is I went and lived in Rhode Island for a summer. And I basically was living in Rhode Island and I was not training on a bicycle almost at all. And because I drove across the country. We bought bicycles, but I was with my family and I wasn't able to put the amount of volume that I normally do. So I would go into the gym with very intense sessions. And I then would go, instead of going on these like 3-4 hour bike rides that I'm used to, 2-3 hour bike rides, whatever it may be, I would go home and spend time with the family. And I had the worst result of my career then. Worst result. And I lost world championships. And then I went through and I was living in Boulder afterwards. And instead of getting right back on the bike, guess what happened? They had a fire come through and all the trails and shit that I would usually ride on got burnt out. And we couldn't ride bikes anymore. And I didn't have a road bike, so I wasn't riding a mountain bike on the roads because the Boulder roads blow. Like, they're not like Malibu where you just get to go up into the mountains. Like, you're just on freaking highways and people are cruising by hardcore. And then all of a sudden, guess what? I lost to Ryan Kent again. So I'm literally giving you field data, like field data that I'm super, super, super involved in, because guess who's the world champion and undisputed in this sport? I am. And I would only do the things that are necessary to continue to hold on to that. So that's why, like, people are like, "Oh, why do you do this?" Because I'm like, I'm the fucking best and I know it works.
Well,
And
so can I just slow you for a second?
yeah.
And I respect what you're telling me. But in the back of my mind, while you're telling me this, I recall the Hunter McIntyre of yesterday, where your aerobic performances were through the roof.
Yep.
Your VO2 score was higher than it had ever been.
Yep.
Your capacity to produce work at higher heart rates and still be aerobic was through the roof.
Mm-hmm.
You got into a lot more high intensity exercise going into CrossFit.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, literally backing off the running, just really focusing on trying to get your strength component up.
Mm-hmm.
Your body morphed into a much more fast twitch kind of state. And then you got into high rocks, and sure, you probably threw all these other elements in play, but you were still including a lot of high intensity training, and your scores plummeted and your performance went through the roof.
Sure.
I'm going to quote you. You told me post-test, "I've never been as fit as I am right now in my life." This was after I tested you and your scores were compared.
How many years ago was that, Rich?
Yeah. Well, but I'm just saying that I'm comparing the guy I knew that did the one thing to a guy I know that did something else, and what that looked like when it was all said and done. So now you could have been wearing red shorts every time you went out and had a good performance, and you could say it's the frickin' red shorts, right?
Yeah.
And so you don't always know specifically what the element of the process or success was that brought you to the podium. You just know that you ended up there and these are the things you did. But there could have been things that you could have gleaned from that training that would have maybe got you there quicker. You might have done a little bit better than you could have or did, or worse. There's just so much. It's just you're like this enigma. You're like this moving target. There's always stuff going on, and some things very positive and always beneficial, and some things maybe a little contrary to your process, and you don't know which is which until the outcome. I didn't do as well as I used to. I did much better than I ever have, but you can't say it was this element in my training that made the difference.
Agreed. I do live a very sporadic lifestyle, but I am at least admitting to you that maybe people think I'm an insane person and I'm all over the place.
No, I don't look. I would argue that all day long. I've always defended your intellect in this response. Okay.
Yeah.
There are people that think you're out of your mind. I'm not that guy because I know you, right? I know you're not out of your mind.
Listen,
you're a little goofy, but you're not out of your mind.
And I'll take it. I mean, it's the pants that I wear. But the thing is this. I'm not saying that I have a guaranteed answer, but I do have a formula.
Okay.
And if I had to invest, I would invest in the formula that I'm in now. But the reason why I continue to ask you is because things always do change. And like, I do respect the thing that you're saying about heat, like that right there. I was like, you know what? I do understand that. There's a reason why people maybe aren't thinking like enough, but there's a reason why I douse myself with water at every single championship. It's not because I have this like specific data points on core temperature. I just recognize I'm like, I am hot. I must cool off. Like, basic answer, basic response. You have data that I don't have.
Well,
So
some people, by the way, some people, what they'll do is they say, I am hot. I'm going to need to get a drink soon. And by the time they get to that drink, they're about 5 minutes too late, because what's really fascinating in what I've been paying attention to lately is we're so used to the metrics that we have available to us, what our pace looks like, what our heart rate looks like relative to our pace, all those kind of things. What we don't do, and we've not had access to until recently, and being careful how I say this because there's ways of doing it, but being able to see how much deviation in your core temperature is during the work you're doing. It's not like looking at your heart rate going from 120 to 140. It might move a half a point in 30 minutes.
But it costs a lot.
Well, but so let's say, homeostasis being normal is 98.6. If you get to 102, you could lose 10% of your performance. If you get to 104, you could need hospitalization.
What are the people you're testing temperatures at once they get their heart rate up?
Well, it depends on the length of time. So I got guys that are out there doing this kind of work for 6 and 8 hours on a mountain. And then I got guys doing high rocks, right? So what I've been noticing is, and realize that I'm amping it up for the guys that are on the shorter duration because I want to see the change, putting them in plastic suits, working them, doing VO2s on them while they're in these plastic suits. And so I'm looking at, on average, I see like 102. I've not seen
really in the middle of exercising.
Yeah.
It's like a baby fever.
Well, but that baby fever is enough to cut your performance by 10%.
No, I mean, I agree. I mean, the reason why I'm so into hydration is because you can see the numbers. I mean, obviously, it's a correlate because, you get dehydrated because you're trying to cool your body down. So the only way that you can really mitigate that, unless you're exposing yourself to cold in the middle of a session, is to be really topped off with hydration and stay on top of hydration through a session.
Well, or the other consideration is like it's better to avoid a fire than to try to put the fire out. So what you want to do is preparation prior to the competition to cause your body to be in a cooler state.
No, I agree.
So that if you start to burn up at round 6 as opposed to round 4, that could make a difference of a minute, maybe 2. I don't know, depending on who you are, what your level of competition is. But the point is, you want to prolong you want to avoid getting into this heated position as long and as effectively as possible. And so what I'm having people do, which is unique, I'm now having them pay attention throughout their training, not just purposely trying to do things to change it, but see what the outcome is relative to what they're doing.
Yeah.
So I'm having them looking at the metric on their Garmin watch where they're actually able to see, okay, my heart rate's this, and I've been here for a while, and my core temperature now is this.
Yeah.
And so you could say, if it's an endurance event, you could say, I need to start pumping those drinks in, maybe douse myself with water, maybe take my shirt off, whatever the hell, just something to try to let that heat go away as best you can. And then see what the outcome is because you really start putting that fire out.
So we got a guy named Victor Purcell in here who's been commenting. What's up, Vic? So one thing that I want to bring up is, I'm a big supplement guy. He's bringing up nitric oxide. I know, like for me, I use a lot of citrulline for this, and then I also use beta-alanine to prevent lactic acid. Is there anything that you found out, at least from the metabolic state or the core temperature state, that you would introduce into somebody's diet to help increase potential?
I don't delve into supplementation. I don't. So this is going to probably cause some sore asses, but I'm saying it anyway. I look at the types of things that you can do to improve your performance on a standard of how much better will this be as opposed to that. And when it comes to the hierarchy of things you can do performance-wise, enhancement-wise, to me, I think that supplementation is on the low part of the scale. And so it's low hanging fruit. I just don't delve into it much. For example, let's talk about Beat Elite. Okay.
Yep.
These guys are talking about the nitric oxide bump that they're getting, and they're actually doing samplings to see if, and I'll tell you what, in the early days of the Beat Elite era, they were sending me this stuff. And I was taking this stuff because I thought, well, maybe this is going to help cleanse my liver because I'm a drinker, right? And I was pumping this stuff in my body left and right. Now, obviously, I'm not an elite athlete, but I had no sensation whatsoever from taking the thing versus not taking the thing. And I am a human, and whether I'm at an elite level or not, you should notice a bump. I'll pay attention when something I'm doing gave me a bump. The only thing that I've ever done in my life that really was noticeable, appreciably different from my endurance perspective was what this stuff's called. No, I'm having a mind fart.
Other sports.
No, what is this? The fat.
The ketones?
No, Pearl Sport came out with this MCT oil.
Interesting.
So MCT oil is a medium chain triglyceride. It's a medium chain triglyceride fuel that acts like fat, but in fact, it's a carbohydrate. And I found a bar, back in the day when I was doing triathlon and cycling, I found a bar instead of a power bar that had these MCTs in it. And I thought, I'm going to try this. I could not believe that, I have this route that I do where I'd ride from the house out down the PCH and do about 40, 50 miles and come back. And usually if I go hard, I'll limp home. I mean, on the way back, I'm like suffering. And needing to get around the day, I was like sucked for the rest of the day. I took this bar halfway in the turnaround and came back, and I was dancing in the rain. I felt great. And I thought, wow, that's weird. And so the next time I went out, I took the power bar with me and did the same thing. Same outcome. I died coming home.
Yep.
Tried it again, took that bar again. Same result. I was singing in the rain again. I'm like, this is weird. I started reaching out to the company. I wanted to talk to the scientists that are concocting this stuff to find out what it was.
Mm-hmm.
They went out of business. They were gone. So I started looking for MCT oils. And so Perilla Performance is one of the supplement companies that was creating this. You can still find it in GNC. But for like an endurance bump, massive. I could not believe how much improvements it created. So you call me a novice, and I'm not real well studied in all of this, but I've tried the CBDs and all the other stuff, and honestly, I just
You're talking about things that are like surface level, like scratchers. Like that's why
well, we're talking about nitric oxide, and so you're supplementing to get that nitric oxide bump, and I just don't know that it's really that. I don't know of anything out there that does it.
It's called minimum effective dose, and I think the issue that you're not getting with these companies is like, they say, oh, this is what you should take. I would take 5 hits of Beat Elite a day. So you have to have higher doses than what they're trying to give you, and that was my issue with the supplement company industry to begin with. And I'm not trying to bash Beat Elite; they're a good company for the most part. If you really want to have something, do high doses of citrulline and do high doses of beta alanine, and you will notice immediately. We'll send you some of the products and you will notice immediately. And that's the reason why I prescribe to those things, because you do notice. I mean, the amount of vascularity that you'll get from taking citrulline, erections, all sorts of crazy shit. It's a very potent thing. And then another thing, that was I was going to talk about product wise. I mean, listen, what you're probably the reason why I've had a problem with a lot of this industry is the variety of endurance products versus bodybuilding products. There's not a lot in between for what we're trying to do. It's either you get a sugar packet with a little bit of table salt in it for endurance athletes, or you're over here with the bodybuilders and they give you this super caffeinated mind explode 10,000. So I think the conversation about nitric oxide is what's the thing that you can do to produce the most response possible. And I don't know if you've tested it, but I mean, it's at the point where we're obsessed. Like I'm thoroughly obsessed with it.
Well, again, look, I'm not going to sit here and profess that I'm an expert in any of that, because
Yeah.
I got to a place where what are the things that I can focus on in my world that will bring me or bear fruit, and that's where I spend my time. Now, I'm not saying you can't get some advantages from some fashion of supplementation, or whether you're dosing more so or not. I'm just saying that that's not where I spend any time. So I'm the wrong guy to ask, to be very honest with you.
Just to talk more about the magic carpet of heat that you've been discussing. So in the context of me getting ready for this thing, if I was going to test in December or January, when do you start doing heat exposure?
Well, it's an interesting question.
Ooh.
So the first thing that I recommend to people that are starting to play this game is get into a situation where they can monitor their core temperature relative to task.
How do you do that?
There's a device you can purchase that you connect it. You know, you could either connect it to your chest strap, or there's a little foam thing that will stick to your skin. You could put it right on your body. So, and what it does is it will kick back this information into an app. So it's precise. It will give you not what your skin temperature is, but what your core temperature is. Short of that, by the way, what they used to do, and probably still do in some camps, is they put like a 10-centimeter probe up your ass.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's go back to talking about it.
So that you can get an accurate read. Now, nobody wants to do that.
You're supposed to do that while doing your exercise. You gotta.
Yeah.
These kind of treatments in your lab.
I'm not going there.
In your secret lab. What's going on in your secret lab?
So what I'm saying is that this company came up with this little device, and I'm purposely avoiding the name of the company simply because they gave me a raw ass, because they did not respect me, and I'm like not going to promote them. But I bought their product. Product.
How do they not respect you? What defines
respect? All right. So
let's bash these fuckers.
So I found out that this company had this really unique tool that you can use to accurately and precisely measure your body core temperature on the fly.
No.
I said, this shit's amazing, right? So I started looking at the research, and everything was telling me, wow, this is the legit real deal, right? So I reach out to the company. I reach out to these guys and said, look, I'm a coach, and I'm operating in unique spaces. Like, I'm not like a triathlon. I mean, I work with triathletes, of course, but I'm working in like high rocks. I'm working in OCR, and these kind of new, novel sports, really. And I have a lot of people. I'm coaching people internationally and whatever. I said, send me 3 or 4 of these devices and some of these suits. Let me go to work, and I will send you the content so you can use it for however you want. That's our deal, right? And the guy goes, nah, I don't think so. And I'm like, what? I said, I promise you that when I start unloading this on my space, my people, you're going to sell a bunch of these things. And I said, if you don't believe me, for example, High Rocks, growing sport, new, Google High Rocks. Do you know what the guy told me? He goes, well, if I got to Google it, that explains my case. In other words, it's not real enough.
Not even on the radar of like dinner talk.
If I got to Google it to verify your position, then and I thought, you son of a bitch.
What's the name of the company?
It's called Core, C-O-R-E.
Oh, you sent me their stuff. Core Temp. Yeah.
Hey, look, the device is amazing. It works. Now, can I tell you something even better as a coach? I've got clients that have the device, and I'm not only now looking at the metrics from their pace, their efforts, their heart rate, and things like this. I'm looking at their core temperature relative to what they did too. So I've got this new piece that I'm putting in the puzzle that's really giving me a sense of what was too much, what was too little, hydration strategies, whatever it is, and starting to see. You can also start to see whether you're getting control over the thing or not. So going back to your question, I would suggest that don't get weird with it at all, other than just pay attention. I'm doing this, and this is what's happening to me. And then you could start implementing some changes. Maybe you're hydrating differently. And, because of the hydration strategy you're taking on, you're starting to get a handle on your core temperature. That's big, right? Now, wait. And then let's just say that you got an event a month out. you're going to go, you want to go break a world record and you're a month out. I would start introducing very specific heat block training.
Only a month out.
A month out.
You wouldn't dabble any earlier.
I'd play with it, but I wouldn't specifically put together the work. So what I'm suggesting to you is I want to stay at a very unique position, body core temperature wise, that gives me a result. And I can show you the research. I can't do it here because I don't have control. Wait, don't slow me down. I've sent you the research. You've seen it.
I know.
You probably just
he doesn't read emails, Rich.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true. I tell everybody on our team, I say, don't you fucking text me. Don't you text me or email me. You call me. That's all I'm going to do.
So what I'm getting at is that I've seen where when you start this heat block training, the greatest return on your investment will occur, ready, in 5 days. In 5 days, 90%, 80 to 90% of the benefits you hope to receive will achieve in 5 days. And then after that 5-day period, it will flatten out. It won't get worse. It won't get better. It just flatten out. So there's really no good reason to do it other than realize that if you continue to put yourself under that heat stress, your fitness is going to fall off. It's like you overtraining. So you don't want to do it. So what you do is you put in a specific amount of work, and I'm not going to give the secret sauce up.
Oh,
I'm not,
come on, Rich, just a little bit of the sauce.
But you and I could talk about it privately, but I'm not going to just throw it out to the world and let them know what I've learned.
Let me just pose something to you real quick. So I started, I think, January 20-something doing high rock simulations leading up to March 16th, where I set the world record. So about 8 weeks, maybe 6 weeks. I sucked at high rocks for the first 4 weeks, and then all of a sudden I started to spike the last. So my question is like, don't you assume that it will take more than 4 weeks to kind of learn how to use this?
No, dude, no. So you're not listening to what I said. I said, play with it, learn it, identify what the outcomes are relative to the things you're doing, and then start to learn about it. But then when you get ready to do the real deal, when you're ready to throw down, to get this holy grail benefit leading into an event, you want to look at it almost like what you do just before a taper. And so, and mind you, what I'm saying is that, and what I was going to say, and you got on me a little bit, is after that 5-day window where you got that benefit will hold on even though you're not doing anything with it for another 2 weeks.
Yeah. So
I did a thing and I can hang on to those benefits for 2 weeks. So let's just say I'm in week 4, 3, 2, I stop. Last week is taper week, event week on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to still get the benefits from what I've done. I'm not saying that you do this exclusive of your training. You're still doing the training that you normally would do, but there's purposeful intent with what you're doing over the course of it's probably about 8 days, to be honest with you, because you're going to start tapering after a bit. But there's a very specific outcome that's going to happen. It's going to increase your capacity to do the work, for one. It's going to increase your blood plasma. It's going to increase your red blood cells. It's going to decrease your sensitivity. What am I trying to say? It'll allow you to stay in the heat more effectively, comfortably. Mm-hmm. There's a whole bunch, and if somebody wants to know specific, you know what? I'm not just handing this stuff out. I don't give T-shirts away. You want me to give like the secret sauce away?
Back to what you were saying earlier about that guy not knowing who you were, respecting it. I've literally battled with that for the past decade of my life. Like doing events and being the best guy in the world is something that nobody gives a shit about.
Wouldn't that same concept apply for like if I have to Google their company because they aren't dinner table, just nationally known name?
Well, can I tell you something? Pay attention now, because since I started looking at this, what I've learned, the guy that just won the Western States 100 broke the record by 45 minutes. he's using their device, and he used this.
Okay.
I don't remember his name. It's an
Jim
English.
Walmsley?
No.
Jim Walmsley's record got beat?
Yes. This year.
Really?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Okay. So, and then guess who else is into it now? Killian Jornet just picked the thing up and started using it in his training. And the guys that are setting the world records in Ironman, same drill. And so you're starting to see over and over and over again that these, what I was bringing to the table is this is a unique sport. This isn't an endurance sport, but there's high intensity. High intensity means high heart rate, means high heat production. This is going to be a novel thing that I'm doing that will benefit you guys. Oh, well, if I got to Google it, and I'm like, okay, you know what? So I'm sorry.
I think the issue is, dude, you're just in the United States. I think you got to leave the United States. That's why I'm over here in the UK. I'm a God King over here. They actually like the sport and care about it. In the United States, I think with the growth of CrossFit, NASCAR, all these other major sports, people just don't give a shit. Even when I was the only thing that's ever gotten me attention in the United States is Broken Skull Ranch. And I would just go to southern states and people thought I was a god. Over here, you can come over here, dude, and you could own London in a day with they think you're a witch doctor because you can do magic with temperature.
You know what? I'm getting too old to chase people around.
You don't have to chase people around. They'll come to you, dude. You'll be like the Messiah. They'll be like, please.
So can I tell you something?
I
I had this thought process this morning. You know that I've been at this a long time. I've been at this I've been in this business for 30 years. Mm-hmm. And I've been trying to promote, all these clinics and whatever. I'm getting to this place where I'm saying, you know what? I'm going to give you an opportunity to come see me, but you're going to have to put in the work. Yeah, that means you're going to have to reach out to me, schedule an appointment, and come see me. But I'm not going to be beating the drum and trying to advertise like a madman to make this thing work because I'm just getting too old to chase people.
You know, Rich, I'm starting to get more Rich Diaz ads on Facebook. I don't know if you're doing that purposefully, but I'm getting more join my Richard Diaz, sign up for XYZ, and I've seen that over the last week.
Oh, really?
Yeah, promoting you. Yeah.
Look up Mike Bergner, the weightlifting coach who's very famous in CrossFit. This dude's 300 years older than you, and he's still hustling. So don't get fucking lazy.
Look at, I know him. I know that guy, Mike Bergner.
I think he's great, but he's got to be as old as a tortoise, and he's still giving weightlifting courses. So you got to stick with it, brother.
Well, I'm not going to listen. I love what I do. You know this, right? I love what I do. And the more time I can spend, focusing on the getting better at what I do, the more I like it. I wake up in the morning doing this shit. I go to bed doing this shit. It's not like I want to go do something else, but I'm just not as aggressive as I once was, and I don't know. But I love every time somebody new shows up in my door, I get excited because I don't know who they are. I don't know what they're capable of, and I'm going to reveal it.
Rich thought I was a deadbeat the first time I met him, so don't anybody listen to what he says.
I had to Google your ass, right? He calls me up. He said, yeah, I'm doing this OCR thing. I'm like, what? What's that? And then I'm pulling up these pictures of when he was modeling. I'm going, oh no. And then, I started looking at the cover of some sport magazine or something. I said, wow, this might be legit. He came to me, just a babe in the woods and was just ready to listen and learn. And you know what? And
wasn't lazy.
And no, he never turned their back on it, man. It's been a long time at this point.
You wrote a book after the knowledge that you gained about his stats of running, right?
I put him on the cover.
Hey, now.
Put him on the cover. Might have to put him on another cover.
So let's discuss here. Since you made predictions last time, high, low, I'm going for 29:50. It looks like a 6-minute mile, 3-minute pull-ups, 7-minute push-ups, 8-minute squats, and a 6:20 mile.
Now, refresh my memory because I don't pay attention to this stuff that much.
Good.
Is there 2 runs? You run first, then
2 1-mile runs. 1 mile run, 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 squats, 1 mile.
What I would consider to be success is if the final run is not slower than the first run.
So you want me to go sub 6-minute miles?
Yeah.
So you want me to start at a 6:20 and then end as a 6?
I don't know. I want you to run if your mark is 6, I want 6 in the front and 6 in the rear.
610 and 605 would add up then. So I'll go 610 and then I'll go 605 or 6 flat, the last one.
And there's just everything else that you do, you should be able to do. You should know 2 weeks before you decide to throw down exactly what it's going to look like.
Yeah. Well, 300 air squats divided by 8, which is the amount of time that I want to do, is 37 air squats a minute. When I test by myself, I get about 45 to 46, just like going up and down constantly. So I'm cutting it off by almost 15%.
Is that with the vest on, Hunter?
Yeah, with a vest on. Yeah. And then if you look at 200 pull-ups divided by 7 minutes, or push-ups divided by 7 minutes, is 28 push-ups a minute. So it's not that crazy. It's really not. I went out the gun a little too hot. So conservative on the runs, conservative on the push-ups and squats, and then crush the last run.
Well, conservative should be what occurs, and then progressively ramping up your ability in your training. There shouldn't be anything conservative in the end product. You should know exactly what you need to do and exactly what it's going to look like having done it by the time you set this record.
So I was thinking about spending 3 days a week in the gym. Would you spend more days a week in the gym at lower intensity or higher intensity 3 days?
Well, then what's going to happen the other 4 days?
That easy cardiovascular work that I talked about, because once your muscle's just that traumatized, there's nothing I can really do.
Well, first of all, I'd work on your skill sets on the run. Don't worry about how fast you're running. Worry about how well you're running. And then the better you run, the less stress your body's going to absorb or take on, and you're going to just get better at it. So, and then with time, you could have days where you're going to really ramp up the runs, really focus on getting that mile time down, knowing what the cost is going to be to get that mile time down. Mm-hmm. Do some bricks. Add parts of the competition to your run to see what the stress levels are when you try to run after you've done something. Just, work it like a triathlete, just add some bricks. And so it's basically the same formula for high rocks. It's like, this person I talked to the other day said they do not do sims at all. Oh no, the sims beat me up too much. I just don't do them. I need 2 weeks worth of recovery.
They're too dumb.
The
thing is for me, and the reason why I have my formula, you've been my coach for a long time, and like you and I consult, but I do my own thing for the most part. I have my formula, and I feel that a lot of people, and the reason why one-on-one coaching is valuable is because people do need to have their own process, and somebody needs to refine it for them. I refined it myself, and working with people like you. Sometimes you may not be able to do a high rocks workout maybe you can only do it once a month. Maybe you just can't, but I get away with it once a week, but I'm just tip of the spear type stuff. And, I was talking to Mark Allen the other day, and he was like, yeah,
I listened to that.
4 times a year, he would do a 150-mile bike ride, a swim into a 150-mile bike ride, and do a 30-minute run at race pace. And I was just like, whoa, 150-mile bike ride. And he was just talking about the hard surges that he'd put into that 150-mile bike ride. Dude, I would be covering myself in Band-Aids and crying after a 150-mile bike ride.
Can I tell you something? Ryan knows this because I was texting things to him and you weren't posting it. But I know Mark Allen. Mark Allen competed in my event in 1983. And so back then, when he was with Team J. David, all these guys were training together. Scott Tinley, not Molina. Molina wasn't part of it. Scott Tinley, his brother Jeff Tinley, had to get this super tribe of athletes that were being paid to train. It was like the perfect storm.
Dude, that's what I want.
But anyway, I know Mark Allen's history, and we've not always agreed with each other. Let's just put it like that. But during that interview you had with him, you probably remember this. I bet you Ryan does. He used the term in training flow probably 10 times. And I thought, you know what? The guy's genius, because I've been banging the drum about flow, the way you're introducing intensity in and out of it and whatever, for the longest time. And I was so pleased to hear him say it because, and the other thing I was waiting for him to talk about the Phil Maffetone, go slow and stay slow to turn out that 5-minute mile. No.
But he talked about the hard running at the end. He said he would do hard intervals and stuff. Maybe those guys are a little bit quiet about it at the end.
I needed to hear him say that.
What I'm trying to do February and March is do like very, very intense focused training camps for about 6 to 8 weeks with athletes that I'm either going to do in Spain or I'm going to do here in the United States, and try to like bring the best coaches in, have a free house for everyone to live at, food, everything covered. You get a couple sponsors behind it. The field just says, like, I would do anything to, like, reading the books about Tour de France and all the athletes go to Spain and they're just cycling all the time. I would love to have all these people, but everyone's kind of so catty and bitchy and doesn't want to come together. But if we could do that for a good 8 weeks, I guarantee we'd have insane times for World Championships.
You know what the unfortunate end is in the sports that we're involved is there's just no money.
Yeah.
When you look at the Tour de France, when I was working with professional boxers, there was nothing that I could have said that would not have been done. I mean, financially, if I said, look, in order to do this, we need this much money, they would have started throwing the cash at me. They didn't give a shit because they had this budget, right? They didn't even have a budget. They just got limitless amounts of money to produce that world champion, right? And the same thing in triathlon, the same thing in cycling. You have these great minds and these great research teams put together to define the outcomes, based on science that doesn't exist in these sports. For me to show up at a camp like that, I'm thinking, okay, I got to come out of pocket or whatever to go for what? These guys get paid to do these things, and it just doesn't exist in this sport. And that's unfortunate. I would love to see it get to a place where, $1 million for the winner of the High Rocks World Championships.
Mm.
And then you're going to start seeing that the intellect in the sport is going to improve dramatically.
Yeah. I'm finally at the point where I'm starting to make enough money doing this thing where I can take these steps. And like I just had a meeting with sponsors today, someone I've worked with for 2 years, and I've never had a contract with them because they were like, we can't allocate the budget to something that isn't there yet. And now they finally came back to me, and I was just like, all right, well, we need to do this if I'm going to do what you guys want. And like, it's there. I mean, technically people could become professional athletes in this thing full time pretty soon.
Well, Rich, you ever work with Money Mayweather?
Did I?
Yeah.
No. But I could tell you that I worked with a boxer that beat Manuel Marquez, who was like right there with Mayweather, right? Wow. The problem with Mayweather is he was up a weight class, so I never got around to it. I worked with Sergio Martinez, who was a middleweight champion of the world, and when I worked with him, he was knocking people out. It was like fun to watch. You can't imagine the difference in the way someone like me responds to that when you know how much is on the table. I couldn't sleep. I could not sleep at night because I was concerned that I do the right thing by this guy today. And what am I going to do tomorrow? I mean, when they gave me the lightweight champion of the world, they said, nobody's touching this guy but you for the next 6 weeks, leading up to a world championship bout on HBO.
Yeah.
I couldn't sleep. I mean, literally could not sleep because I was like, I love Hunter, but I'm not going to lose any sleep worrying about whether he's going to win or not. Because it doesn't change my life. It might change his life. It doesn't change mine, right? And that's the problem. It's like you look at guys like the guy that what's his name that worked with Manny Pacquiao. What the hell is his name? I'm getting old. I forget things. Freddie Roach. Freddie Roach gets 10%, right? So Marquez, not Marquez, but Pacquiao, his career earnings was $450 million. His trainer got $45 million over the course of their relationship.
45 million?
Right. Working with one athlete. Not to mention the rest of the guys he had in his stable. I would bet you that Freddie Roach has probably earned $200 million as a trainer and a coach.
Wow.
I'm in the wrong game.
I know. I think about that all the time. I'm like, God dang
So
it.
Hunter turns professional boxing athlete after this show with Rich Diaz.
I would
right.
murder.
I put him in as
boxing.
a super. No, we put him at a light heavyweight.
I would murder people.
Bring him back down to 190 pounds.
It'd
Work on his footwork. You know,
be a dream. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing running in circles and throwing balls at targets.
What's that guy's name? Paul something.
Jake Paul.
Logan Paul. We're gonna set up a fight between you and
those guys.
Like an MMA fight between you and Logan Paul.
I'd beat the shit out of them. They're YouTubers.
Hey, listen, even if he beats the shit out of you,
that's what every fighter says.
I don't know, dude. I feel like these guys take money and they're like, "Oh no, I got hit in the face. I'm going down."
I'm gonna think about it. Logan Paul.
Hit me hard right now.
These guys are they're going after burnt out fighters, and they own like. I think Jake Paul owns that new fighting league, like whatever it's called. He's a part owner in the new fighting league, and Logan Paul owns this Prime drink company, potentially both worth over $1 billion at this point. So you got to figure you just walk up to one of these guys and say, "Hey, listen, I'm going to pay you $10 million to play cat and mouse with me for however many rounds, and then let me beat you."
Listen, I will fight him myself.
I know, but that's what
I will pay you. I will pay you $500,000 to pick me up if he knocks me down.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
just hold me there and let me take the hit.
I need to make it to round 5. Put me back up. Oh, dude, I appreciate the time, and you got to give me. So we've discussed we're going lighter on the entry mile, faster on the exit mile. We're gonna work on basically tackling really. Focusing on doing more duration of the workout, increasing intensity over time, heat training near the end. I think we're good. We're good.
Can I, you know, I know I've said this too many times. I'm getting tired of saying it. If you just showed your ass up, we can introduce you to all this.
I told you I'm coming in September.
That's what you keep saying.
Listen, some of us actually have to work for a living and don't hide in caves with temperature butt plugs. You ass. Dude, I am literally half dead right now. We literally came out here, landed, partied our asses off, did a Ironman, got on a flight, did a whole workout tour, had a 1-year anniversary party. I start my tour again tomorrow. And I don't get out of here until I'm trying to change my flight to Sunday. I don't think I get out of here until Tuesday. I'm half dead.
All right.
Well, you know what? You should find one of those liquid IV places. Get a vitamin boost.
Or a therapist, or just like someone like I think you can hire people these days that will cuddle you. You can pay them. There's like cuddling stations.
Get a puppy.
I don't need a puppy, dude. All right, boys and girls. I had a really great time, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. This was an absolute blast. Rich, we always learn a tremendous amount. If you guys want to find out more about Rich, The Secret Lab, Diaz, Human Performance, find him on Instagram. He is worth every dollar and worth the conversation and the trip to middle of nowhere, Nashville, Tennessee.
Yep. It's the
All
best.
Right. Brother,
Cheers,
man.
Guys. See ya.
Good catching up.
Later, boys.
Right. Get out of here.